It's a last chance, I think, for higher purpose.
Broadcasting live, this is the Handicappers Report, brought to you by the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany, and CapitalOTBBet.com, the premier online wagering site in New York State. CapitalOTBBet.com. Sign up today.
Good morning and welcome to Handicappers Report live from Gulfstream Park and back together again. Brian Nadeau. Brian, good morning.
Yeah, Seth, good to see you and the gang down here, Shannon and Mick. And it's always a pleasure to have you down here. And I'm sure you guys are enjoying it as well, getting out of Dodge. It's always a pleasure to have you down here. And I'm sure you guys are.
Although it did a couple of the early race yesterday, it poured pretty good for a few minutes. And then the rest of the day was beautiful, but leads to off the turf today.
Yeah, we're off the turf today. We should be ready to roll on Curlin Florida Derby Day tomorrow. And it's almost uncanny because, it's rained like once since December, literally. So that everyday Florida shower that you think of and everybody talks about, it just hasn't happened. Unfortunately, the last couple days, it has. If you're thinking about, coming out today, and, it should be good today. A little windy, but good day down here. But the big day tomorrow, everything looks ready to roll.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it. A great card, not just the Florida Derby, but a great card of stakes races as well. And as is usual, coming up, I'll tout there's a $1 million late pick 5 tomorrow. Yep. $1 million late pick 5, $750,000 late pick 4 tomorrow. And then, as is normally the case, Sunday, mandatory pay in the rainbow.
Yeah, and any number you see out there, we will well far surpass that. Yeah. They err on the side of caution here. $950 in the rainbow today in that gross jackpot guarantee, and the $1 million and $750 tomorrow will blow way past that. I think $2 million's in play. I think well over $1 million in that pick 4 is in play, and barring the unseen uncanniness in the rainbow 6, I would highly expect we make it to Sunday, and then all bets are off. I mean, we're already at $1 million basically, and after tomorrow, but again, if it doesn't get hit, we would almost probably have like a 1.5 on Sunday, and then when it's mandatory, I think $10 million is in play, but we'll worry about that another day. But just a lot of excitement.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Big weekend down here. We're happy to be here. Coming up at 9:15, we have an hour and a half slot that we have to vacate, so things can get rejiggered. Yep. And you guys get in here a little bit later on. So we'll go for about 45 today here on the Handicappers Report. 9:15, Bill Badgett from Gulfstream will join us. Tommy Bellhouse from West Point Thoroughbreds. They have a few horses in tomorrow on the stakes card. And then Samantha Perry, your colleague down here, will do a little handicapping at the end of Racing Across America, coming up a little bit late as well. Tomorrow morning, we'll kick off at 8 o'clock, same 90-minute schedule, but we'll kick off at 8. So Racing Across America will start at about 8:45. We've taped some nice interviews already and still have to get some live guests, but we talked to Shug yesterday, who has some nice horses in tomorrow. Safi Joseph, talked to him, talked to Dale as well, and probably going to grab a few more interviews today and have some live guests also tomorrow. So looking forward to it. Are we ready to dive in for this afternoon?
Yeah, let's do it. You got a good slate today. Billy Badgett actually beat Billy into the office today. It doesn't happen very much. And nobody's here more than Billy, and he does a great job. And Samantha, and of course Tommy. It was great to see Tommy down from my son on Wednesday, I think. And
Terry was here also. Said hello to him yesterday.
Yep. Yeah. Let's do it.
First race today at Gulfstream Park. Maiden 12-5 claimers. They're on the synthetic at 1.40 miles. 70.
Yeah, I don't know if Connecting Flight's going to handle the Tapeta or not, but if she does, she should win this race. I mean, it's just a steep drop. The one thing, and I'm sure everybody back home has played a lot of these Tapeta races, routing on the Tapeta, speed is not really where you want to be. It tends to come back a lot, regardless of how quick horses go. Now, when the rains come, it typically tightens up this Tapeta a little bit, but not that Connecting Flight is a need to lead kind of horse. The drop just has to play in here, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I also I had it 4-7-3
Yeah.
with Connecting Flight on top. Catch that gal in the second spot off a decent little second last time. One of those that has had 6 tries and pretty consistent, and looks to be a fit with this particular bunch. And then Ramadan in the third spot, coming over from the turf most recently, but another one that's had plenty of tries, hasn't gotten it done, but looks like a good fit with this particular group. So.
Yeah, Catch That Girl's burned a lot of money, so you want to tread a little light there. And then I think it's another reason why Connecting Flight is a good spot. It kicks off the early pick 5 as well. The pools have been really big, and I would think this weekend they kind of blow up a little bit more. The race number 2 kicks off the early pick 4. We are off the turf, so we'll go to 1.70 in this maiden optional claimer here. Fillies and mares, 4-year-olds and up. And we talked off the air, Seth. Typically, and you've seen the one sheet that I do, and you for that matter. I do send in off the turf picks, but I would say 4 out of 5 races, Seth, they are the same. I rarely switch them, and when I update them on Twitter and stuff or for the website, sometimes I change because of the scratches, but predominantly, and this is one of those races, I leave them the same.
Yeah, no, I'm right with you. And it just because fields stay intact typically for the most part. Yeah. And it's just frustrating if you change and all your top gets it done, which isn't unusual in this kind of a situation. But I went 1, 2, 4, and 6. Arrow Blue on top, maiden special weight to maiden claiming for Ken Sweezy. Irad Ortiz on board, who's just been phenomenal down here this season coming into the weekend. As they say, we talked to Safi yesterday. He's leading on the training side of things. Irad leading on the jockey side of things as we come into the closing weekend here. But he'll be on board for Ken Sweezy with the class drop, all added up to me. Downburst in the second spot. Brother Jose Ortiz on board this horse, who again throwing some pretty consistent numbers, has had 10 tries and hasn't gotten it done yet, but been kind of knocking on the door. And you look at this group, probably fits. And then Miscreant in the third slot, Phil Serpy trainee, coming out of a couple of okay efforts that again I think stack up with this group. One of those was back in October at Belmont at Aqueduct, but the season debut March 1st at Gulfstream, probably the one to build on and maybe move forward from. I will say never been wrong. The 6 horse, I could make a case out there as well. I think it's a competitive bunch.
Yeah, that's where I went actually. 6-4-1-2 for me. Never been wrong. Jack Sisterson doesn't claim a lot of horses. He reached in and grabbed this one from Jane Sibeli on debut, and then bumped her up into a maiden special weight. So it was a pretty confident move by Jack. She didn't do a lot of running, but she chased early and tired late. We're going to get Luis Saez to stick around. I think that's a positive. The winner last time was a dropper for Pletcher, who kind of sort of had to win. So I think this one comes out of the right race. When I say dropper, I mean she was facing better horses, and I think Never Been Wrong's got some upside, which is probably more than you can say for a few of these. Miscreant, as you mentioned, is certainly in the mix here, second off the layoff, and the drop plays on Arrow Blue. The problem with Irad, quote unquote, the problem is, you got to pay a tax on Irad anytime he rides. And if the horse should be 4-1, the horse is 5-2, 3-1. And Irad is unbelievable. We show the standings every Wednesday, Seth, to start the racing week. And Luis Saez, he's gotten days. He's been out of town. He riding Derby horses or trying to get on Derby horses, things like that. But Irad is just, I think this week, Seth, he was 47 ahead. And it's unbelievable because Luis won this title last year, and just everything Irad seems to get on, they either improve. He's always got him in the right spot. So, you're the old damned if you do, damned if you don't. You don't want him to beat him, but if you're going to play him, you're going to take an underlaid price. So it's kind of the fine line of the wagering,
Yeah, and you can't ignore him, but yeah, you're right. You get beat up a little bit on the price, and understandably so. With I looked at the standings last night, and it just has an incredible, insurmountable lead. It probably came into the week with an insurmountable lead.
The month.
Yeah. Third race today at Gulfstream, maiden optional claimer, 5.5 on the synthetic.
Yeah, and always was on the synthetic, and this is my deepest spread on the card. I put an early pick 5 together, and Samantha does the early pick 4s, and I'm 6 deep in here. I took all the slots on the one sheet and even added the 8 in 6, but we'll go 7, 3, 5, 1, 6, 8. It's that kind of race to me. Our fortune cookie. I wonder if we get loose in here. Now, we've talked about routing on the Tapeta. You don't really want to be in front. Speed is sprinting on the Tapeta. Speed is held very, very well. Upwards of 90% of the races are are won by horses within a few lengths or the lead within the pace call. And I wonder if our fortune cookie, with blinkers going on, cutting back a little bit, or dropping a little bit, I think, because this is I think a lesser group than she's been facing. Maybe with an alert beginning, she makes the front in here. There's not a lot of speed, at least on paper, and you can see the splits she's been chasing. And now with blinkers on, she broke dead last time. I think you can forgive that effort. Look at the debut; it wasn't bad at all. So I was going to put her on top. Certainly, Hotfoot Susie is in the mix as well. I struggled with this race, Seth, because there's a lot of horses with middling kind of form that's a little tough to trust and against the flow of kind of the profile of the course.
Yeah, and in the previous race, you took a more lightly raced horse, and these kind of races, I'll tilt in that direction usually. The last race, sometimes they just find fields that they fit into. So the last race, I had horses with experience. I'm going with the fresh face in here, though. Preemption, the number 6 horse from Safi. By Twirling Candy with first-time starters last year, 74 starters, first-time starters, 9 wins, 10 seconds, 8 thirds. Good numbers there for the sire. Dan produced a full sibling called No Deliberation, 5th in debut, but then a couple of thirds and a couple of wins. That says win early to me. So, again, it seems like the kind of field where maybe you can go with a little bit of a fresh face that has a little bit of win early breeding from a trainer who can have them ready. So I'll put Preemption on top. Gaylit in the second spot. This is one of those with more experience, but 7 times in the money and 11 tries. And again, seems like an okay fit with this field. Hasn't been seen since October up at Woodbine on the synthetic, but comes down and tries and kicks off the season on the synthetic here at Gulfstream, and I think is going to be an okay fit. And then Ace Up Her Sleeve in the 3rd spot. Tried this kind of company last time and ran good enough to put in the mix. I put our fortune cookie down in the 4th spot just because I wasn't sure what to do based on the last race, and there was a little trouble. Yeah. And given what the horse did in the first race is probably more likely what we'll see today.
Yeah, and back to your top pick just for a second. Safi, this is not a maiden claimer. This horse is in for a tag, but Safi Joseph Jr. has sky-high numbers debuting in the maiden claiming ranks. Now, you don't see that stat in your racing form because technically this is not a maiden claimer, but this is an angle that he does really well. I think Nick Gonzalez from up at Woodbine. It's the first horse he's run here all winter long. Who's he reach out for? Reaches out for Irad. So, Gaylet is probably ready to roll in here.
Yeah, it's certainly Marty Drexler's been starting a lot of horses down here from Woodbine. And so, the synthetic has drawn some of those north of the border connections. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll continue our look at the Friday card here at Gulfstream. So stay tuned. Join us right here on OTB TV Friday, March 31st and Saturday, April 1st, as we'll be broadcasting live from Gulfstream Park with Florida Derby weekend coverage. Tune in both mornings for selections on the Handicappers Report and interviews with some of the major players on racing across America. That's Friday, March 31st and Saturday, April 1st, live from Gulfstream Park right here on Capital OTB TV. Capital OTB is now streaming live on Roku. The RTN Racing channel on Roku lets you watch OTB TV live through your Roku device or your Amazon Fire Stick, rather than being limited to computers and mobile devices, which means you can now watch OTB live wherever you are. Simply open Roku, scroll to find the RTN channel, then click on OTB TV. OTB TV on Roku. Try it now.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Oops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
And welcome back to the Handicappers Report. Brian and Seth here at Gulfstream Park. Good to see the crew back down here and enjoying the weather a little bit.
I'm sitting in the studio all winter long, envious of you sitting here with Ron and Samantha and Claudia. And now here I am. Very nice.
It's, I cannot complain. Certainly, though, I talked to my mom the other day. Said it wasn't too bad back home, but
it's a lot better here.
You can see it behind us. It's going to be about 80 degrees today, and a lot to look forward to. 14 races horses tomorrow on Curlin Florida Derby Day. 10 stakes as well, and of course the big one. I think around 6:40 in the PM to wrap up the card. The $1 million Grade 1 Florida Derby with Forte's second start of the year. I said it the other day. If the heck with the Florida Derby, if the Kentucky Derby was run, right now, Forte's about 7 or 8 to 5 in a 20-horse field. Devastatingly good in his return right out here in the Fountain of Youth. And I would think at a true 9 furlongs with the proper long stretch run, he's going to be that much tougher. But that is tomorrow. Today, back at it. We've got 9 races. Now, we are off the turf, unfortunately. But the exciting thing is race 4, which we're going to get to right now. And this is going to be a starter optional claimer off the turf here. 3-year-olds and up. Take note of that, too. We've integrated some 3-year-olds into the older race horses now. I think it is a pretty disadvantage right now, at least, on March 31st. But this kicks off the Rainbow Six, $950,000 in the gross jackpot guarantee. We'll get over $1 million today. Tricky race now that it's off the turf.
I think this is a competitive race. Wrote that at the top of the page. I went 6, 3, 4, and 1. Oh, this kid does kick off the Rainbow.
Yeah.
Elusive Empire on top, 6 to 5 on the morning line. So I'm kind of master of the obvious, but broke the maiden 2 back, claimed out of that in the new barn, came back, up a condition, obviously, out of the maiden ranks, and ran a decent near miss second with Irad on board. He's back on board again today. So I'll go in that direction. Provision in the second spot. This one's 6 to 1 on the morning line. Debuted, seasonal debut, end of March. Was it just about a week ago at Tampa? And so that attracted my attention too. If they do show up here today and kind of make the quick turnaround, I'm always a little bit, intrigued by that. Started in an optional claimer over there, now comes back and should be primed for a good effort in the second start of the season. And then Read On in the third spot, Dale Roman's trainee. Seasonal debut again, January 27th, front end win, maiden optional claimer on the turf here at Gulfstream. So I think this one's kind of interesting as well, given what we saw in that 3-year-old seasonal debut, which seemed like maybe this horse has come back now as an improved 3-year-old.
Yeah.
So 6, 3, 4, and 1 for me.
Yeah, the race kind of really does get competitive on the Tapeta. I don't think it was competitive on the turf because Elusive Empire, you see the turf race off the claim for Jose D'Angelo just much better than anything here. But now that we're on the Tapeta here routing, I do think it's more competitive. Certainly, I left this one on top, and he's going to be a short number. But I don't think he has to win anymore now that we're on the Tapeta. So, food for thought. I put Certain in second, Seth. He's a maiden-facing winner. I have a lot of respect for the job Jack Sisterson does, and Jack doesn't run horses where they typically don't belong, and Certain actually figures and fits with these on figures. If you draw a line through Elusive Empire's turf race, everybody else in this field is very tight and very grouped, and I don't think Certain's out of the realm of possibility. He has been facing some pretty decent maiden special weight fields. Jack claimed him for 50 in his second start here, and he's been okay, just trying to kind of find his level. And then you mentioned Provision as well. Second time Lasix, quick turnaround. Those are confident moves. And the fact that George Weaver ships him across the state for a big purse here, I think is a positive as well. So certainly he's in the mix here. 6-1-3 for me.
We move on now to race number 5. It's a conditional claimer. The tag's 10 to 12,500. Non-winners at 3 lifetime. Mile and a 16th on the synthetic.
Yeah, late pick 5 here as well. I went to the outside. 8-1-3 for me. Tis impressive. It's just dropping in class. And I don't know if they're giving him away for 12.5 or her, excuse me. It is what it is. But, she's got back to PETA races that are going to beat this field. The outside post is not ideal. She's got the right kind of running style to route on the Tapeta. Steve Glaceras always has a pretty good feel for this surface, and Edgar Perez is very good on it as well. I just kind of felt she was the right horse in here. You're probably going to have to take an underlaid price on her. Down towards the inside, Basilia, certainly with Irad, makes sense. And this is another one that's got back to PETA races that, that second, he's probably got to improve off that. But, now she's going to run on the Tapeta for, this is important too. She's going to run on the Tapeta for the first time since Edgar Baia claimed her. And I don't know if you're in the loop back home with Edgar Baia, but he's about 35% off the claim. He does a phenomenal job of moving horses up. If you're not familiar with him, take note. And I do think it's significant now that she's going to run with him on the Tapeta for the first time. I've got good notes on Radiant Gem as well. I don't like her lack of early speed, but that's a good Tapeta race for her a couple starts ago. And if you watch the morning show, Ronnie and I will be on. We're going to show a replay of the race last time on the turf where she ran very, very well too. So 8-1-3 for me, Seth.
I went 3-8-1-5, and I was kind of between Tis Impressive, your top pick, and Radiant Gem. But to me, the drop is a little more significant for Tis Impressive, and it's a drop that was enough to kind of whereas Radiant Gem was claimed for this price too. Ran an okay fourth last time, and they're just getting back to the level of the claim. So class-wise, I just tilted a little bit more towards Radiant Gem. Tis Impressive, yeah. If that drop isn't signaling, a for sale sign, and horse has gone in the wrong direction, this horse is going to class up nicely with this field. And Basilia was kind of the same situation. Third off the claim, they picked the horse up in December for $35,000. So coming back for the 12.5, I was a little dicey, but on the numbers, the horse fit. So yeah, I'm 3-8-1-5.
There's a maiden special weight in the 6 to kick off the late pick 4. Now again, we're off the turf, so we'll go to 1.70 on the Tapeta. It's a good race too. Unfortunately, again, we are off the turf. These are 3-year-olds at 1.70.
This is an interesting race. Todd Pletcher has Sergeant Pepper, $1.6 million, but hasn't quite lived up to it so far. I left that one completely out. I'm 3-9-4-2. I went with the Cherie DeVoe second-time starter. Took a little action in the debut at 9-2, then got off slowly, so didn't show a whole lot. We're getting 5-1 on the morning line. I'm curious as to what we'll get when the horse goes into the gate. The March 20th workout looks like the horse is on his toes. There weren't any siblings really to look at, but there was enough here and more than ready on top, and Cherie can have the young horses ready to go. So I went a little 3 more than looks. Second spot, Curlin's in charge. Nice series of improving buyers for Dale Romans that might have this horse primed for even a further move forward. And that'll be another move forward, certainly number-wise, matches up very well with those that have raced here. And then Hidden Path, first-time starter for Todd Pletcher. I debated putting this one on top. Hard spun last year, 83 first-time starters, 10 wins, 10 seconds, 12 thirds, so good numbers for the sire. But the lone sibling that I looked up, Crazy Genius, 0 for 5. So on the bottom side, it wasn't as much, but it is Todd Pletcher, Starlight Racing. I had to put it in the mix. And originally I had the horse up further, but when I looked up, as I say, the progeny of the dam, I was a little less than enthusiastic, but still have it in the mix. 3-9-4-2.
Yeah, your horse, I'm going to use this horse in my pick 4, but I didn't put this horse in my mix. But More Than Looks ran sneaky good last time. If you go back and watch the replay, his horse broke dead last and well behind the field, put a pretty strong, solid middle move in before tiring. Cherie, a couple of years ago was in the 20s of winning at first debut. And now if you look, the program is kind of shifted dramatically. She gets a lot of nicely bred horses, and she's backed off. I think she's 5 or 6% on debut. The second start, though,
still a good number.
Yeah, 28%. So you would expect this horse to move up. Now, again, we're on the Tapeta. A little bit more of a guessing game because there is some turf form. My long shot play today was the 7, Check It Up, who got to the turf last time and really blew way up and ran huge. Now it's tempered a little bit on the Tapeta, and this horse has speed, which worries me a little bit. But 7-8-4-2 for me in here.
No Sergeant Pepper for you either.
No, my joke last time was he sings more like Ringo than John or Paul. He can't run at all.
I like that.
Yeah, and he's been dreadful. Let's just be honest. And now we're on the Tapeta here, but it looks like they're just throwing something at the wall to see if it sticks, because he just hasn't done any running in 2 starts. And no disrespect to any of the horses he's been running against, they were not the saltiest maiden special.
Wasn't in the debut you went off at 6-5.
Yeah.
Cuvier was another Pletcher horse, right?
Yeah. Stablemate, I think that was 9-1.
Yeah.
And he has not proven to be any great shakes either. He's a total fade to me today. As you see, I'm 6 deep in the late pick 4, and he's nowhere on here. The 8 Continue Apace is interesting for Safi. Now this is a first time in the barn. boggles my mind that the form doesn't have the trainer switch here. He ran in a tatter sales race, so that's why the race was like $300,000. The winner, Seth, he's a little second tier over in Europe. He's 5 for 5 though. It's a good race this horse comes out of. Lasix, Edgard Zayas, the main guy. I would expect this horse to run. Maybe they did want turf again. Tapita, a little bit more of a guessing game. Hidden Path is the Pletcher firster with Zayas for Starlight Racing. Certainly, you don't figure to have to be a world beater to play with this group if you're a first-time starter. Another reason why the 8 has got to figure as well. And then the One Fast Dream is the proven horse with a fast race last time. The thing that was interesting me with One Fast Dream, Seth, this is a my race horse. They've never bet him. He was 41-1 last time. They bet their horses, with both hands. So I don't know. I thought that was a little bit odd, but it's a spread race to me. It's a problem race as well.
Yeah, and I didn't use the 8, but I looked at the 8. I'm going to be just interested to see what the Euro import does in here. All right, we'll take another break. When we come back, we'll complete our look at the Friday card for Gulfstream. Stay tuned.
Birdstone is an outside front. They're coming down to the finish. Can Smarty Jones hold on? Here comes Birdstone. Birdstone surges past. Birdstone wins the Belmont Stakes. But here comes High Chaparral. High Chaparral, the defending champ, to take it to Paul. These two arch rivals head to head with Jeff Hart bearing down on them. It's going to be a 3-horse photo finish to the turn. Here's the wire. Photo finish.
What if there was a way to become a better horse player, to have a better knowledge of the game, to be more successful? What if there were a way to take what you've learned, what you know, and make better decisions, better choices? In horse racing, knowledge is a powerful tool. Race results and replays, past performances and live streaming, wagering from all your digital devices. Capital OTB. Become a better horse player.
Capital OTB is now streaming live on Roku. The RTN Racing channel on Roku lets you watch OTB TV live through your Roku device or your Amazon Fire Stick, rather than being limited to computers and mobile devices, which means you can now watch OTB live wherever you are. Simply open Roku, scroll to find the RTN channel, then click on OTB TV. OTB TV on Roku. Try it now.
Handicappers report live from the Gulfstream Park paddock. Seth Merrow and Brian Nadeau. We are going through the Friday card, again, leading into a big Saturday. Coming up, we're going to go to about 9:15 with this show. We'll have Racing Across America then from 9:15 to 10 o'clock. Bill Badgett from Gulfstream Park will join me. Also, Tom Bellhouse from West Point Thoroughbreds and Samantha Perry coming up a little bit later on tomorrow. We kick things off at 8 a.m., and we've taped some interviews that you'll see tomorrow. We taped some thoughts from Safi Joseph, Shug McGahee, Dale Romans, and we may grab a couple more of those taped interviews today and have some folks live on the set. So looking forward to a big Florida Derby Day morning as well. But we're kicking things off appropriately here with our colleague Brian Nadeau looking at the Friday Gulfstream card. And we'll continue with the 7th race, optional claimers with the C condition, 3/4 of a mile.
Yeah, this is a stakes race, basically. This is a good field. You're familiar with Spirit Wind, who's a very freaky fast state bred. Basking has a lot of talent for Lisa Lewis, but my best bet of the day is the 4. You Look Cold, 4-2, just straight 4-2 to the hoop on the one sheet, 4-2-1-5. This horse was stunning last time, winning first dirt start for Bill Mott. He's had her on the turf 2 back, and that just did not work out. And maybe in hindsight, she needed the race too. Wow, you go back and watch the race last time. Joel Rosario was just waiting for a pocket, for a seam to open up. And when it did off the far turn, she just absolutely streaked to daylight. Spirit Wind is a darn good horse and a super fast horse, but I think she catches her at the right time. She hasn't been out since the Princess Rooney. I don't know why she's missed time, but it's clearly something was a little amiss. And the other thing too is You Look Cold is outside of her, and that's a big benefit because Joel Rosario can, spy Spirit Wind and see what she's doing. Bluefield's a fast horse in her own right, and she's not going to let Spirit Wind get too far away from her. I think it really looks like a good spot for You Look Cold. These are potential stakes horses. The 1, 2, and certainly the 4 to me are all eligible to run in stakes in the near future.
Another one where I have yours flip-flopped, and I could have gone the other way. I wasn't, the last race from You Look Cold, and I'll kind of maybe go with what you're saying now, that visually it looked very, but it on the paper, it's a little bit of an aberration.
A little bit.
So I went with Spirit Wind, but if that last race is believable from You Look Cold, then off the layup, obviously there are bigger and better things down the road. So how geared up is Spirit Wind going to be today? There's only 3 workouts showing they're, okay, but I put Spirit Wind on top, but I had him pretty close, and no arguments with You Look Cold there. And then I put Choose Joy in the 3rd spot. Came back from a long layoff and put in a pretty good effort. You always wonder on those, though. Now, should I wait another start? Will they put 2 together like that off of that long layoff, or is it we come back, we run big, and then not so much show, and then the 3rd start on, they get back on the trail really? But I have Choose Joy in the 3rd spot. So for me, 2, 4, 5, and 3.
Yeah, it's a really, really, really good race, and the interesting thing
I didn't know what to do with Basking.
No,
who I think is live in there.
Yeah, she was entered a little bit back and scratched out. Choose Joy is not a dirt horse. She has dirt wins, but she's not a dirt horse.
Yeah.
The fact that Steve Dwaskins runs her here. The other thing, back to your top pick real quickly, don't forget when Spirit Wind ran against Cece, that was in July, early July. She was a 3-year-old running against Cece at that time. That's heady stuff.
Yeah, middle of the year.
When she was 2nd. So she's got a world of talent for Ralph Nix. On to the 8th now. We're off the turf here. We'll go a mile 70. No, we go a mile 16, excuse me, on the Tapeta here. These are 4-year-olds and up. The tag is 50.
I have a 3, 5, 6, and 8. Caninos on top. Goes out for Mike Maker. Hasn't been seen since the middle of December. Was in a stakes race here, the Allen Jerkins. Comes back in for this tag today. There's nothing jumping off the page for this one. Just as I looked at this horse versus the rest of the field, I thought maybe a little edge here. Luis Saez on board, that attracted my attention as well. Mega City in the 2nd spot. This one with a little more recency, and some pretty good recency. Nice win at the plain vanilla 50 claiming level 2 back, and then a decent 3rd last time. Claimed out of that, was claimed away from Mike Maker. We'll see what happens in the new barn though, but I think this horse is a solid fit. And then Yamamoto in the 3rd spot. Nice win last time, and a win that is good enough to be in the conversation here, and wouldn't surprise me if a lot of people are maybe going in that direction. I think the 6-1 there is very legit and generous. We'll see what we get at post time, but I think Yamamoto is playable. I have a 3, 5, 6, and 8.
Yeah, he's the house horse now on the Tapeta because Yamato's run very, very well. On the Tapeta here, he's 5 for 9 in the exact. I think Marat Sankal, this horse, more than anyone else in the field, benefits on the surface, which I left Mega City on top. Liz Dobles also has the 1 in here. Kygo off the claim, both of them. And Liz, if you're not familiar with her, she does a really good job with John Giorni and Imaginary Stables. Are 25% off the claim. Now, this one I might change this around. We'll see with the scratches because Mega City is pure 1-run speed. He's going. Come and catch him. That's a little dicey routing on the Tapeta, but I'm going to leave him on top at least right now. We'll see what this race looks like if there are any scratches. The beauty of it, and Seth kind of hinted at it at the start, the beauty of the Tapeta, you rarely lose horses. We ran a maiden special weight yesterday. Nobody scratched out. So that's the good part of it. Mega City is loose in here. We'll see. And Yamato likes it, of course. Kinios he's tough to read because he's just dropping pretty stiffly, but he ran in the Jerkins last time, and that actually was on the Tapeta because it was off the turf, and he ran okay. Value Engineering's a nice horse, so I would expect them to bet him pretty good. Seth, we'll go 5, 6, 3 we'll use them all as well as Billy Badgett. Boy, he's the guy's here early.
I love that. I love when the guests show up early, and then I can be like, okay, we're good to go. Ninth race today, Gulfstream Park, maiden claimers, 5.5 on the synthetic.
Billy's the only guy that has more donuts than I do in the office too. So
I didn't realize you were
like
talking
him.
donuts the other day. I did radio with Bick. Bick said he brought in the donuts
every day. Brings them in. He was in there early.
And then he says to me,
today.
"What? You didn't think I brought in the donuts?" I'm like, "How they got donuts in the press office at Gulfstream? Well, how am I going to put that together?"
Day. We like Steve. 485 for me to wrap it up. Novelli, second time starter for Safi. That's a big angle. 29%. You know, he's like 18, I believe now. He's up to with first or second time starters. Really angle. And here's the maiden claiming runs Seth stat. Not the first time stat, but 33% overall in maiden claiming. So Novelli, I would think it improves in a pretty big way in here. Megan making money, ran so well last time. This is probably a little better field, and she couldn't see it out. Gave up an open length lead last time, which worries me. And Motown Mika on the drop. Don't sleep on this one. I know those are Tampa and Meadowlands and Monmouth maiden special weight races. Horse that's shown speed against special weights. That's never a bad thing on a drop.
I thought I was getting clever in here. I have Novelli on top as well. 4, 8, 6, and 7.
I printed out early. It's impossible. She'll be 10-1.
The sire is one of those that I call kind of sneaky because there's a limited sample, but 6 first time, and I know this isn't a first time starter, but I still, those first time stats, indicate win early kind of talent. 6 first time starters last year, a win in a second. So just kind of sneaky good on that side. But there was a sibling called the Chica Lateral. Won the first 3, then ran second, then won again. So won 4 of the first 5 with a second place finish. So there was a lot of win early there. So, now that you've got it, now I'm thinking, I thought I was going to be a little
maybe
clever.
Half that.
Maybe a little clever. I'd still take that, I think. So Novelli on top, Megan making money, lots of early speed. And I think that's going to be very beneficial. And we'll see what Pete Aiello does with that. Has a little bit of early speed there as well. So we'll toss that one in the mix. 4, 8, 6, and 7.
Yeah, is not too interested in getting her picture taken out on the front side.
You see a horse with 4 starts in 3 seconds, and I wish I could remember the one I had the other day, and I don't even remember what track, because in the afternoon they were doing a bunch of tracks. But yeah, you talk about a horse that didn't want its picture taken, had the momentum, and I'm thinking, I have a winner here, and it was about 7-1. It got up to the other horse and just would not. And some horses, that's just the mentality.
They are herd pack animals. That's sometimes people overlook that a little bit. Some of them are not too interested in winning.
And I'll ask another question. Are you like me? You look down and you see a horse that maybe has 3 starts, and all 3 of them are broke slow, bobbled, hit somebody. Once they start to put 2 or 3 of those together, I started to think,
absolutely,
this is a horse that finds trouble somehow.
It happens more than you think, and you should definitely take note of it, because again, repetition and things like that, and you'll see it more often than you think.
Just before we let you go, we're going to get Ron's. We're going to tape a little Ron today and get some of his thoughts. Well, as I say, a little later we'll have Samantha on, but I want to get your thoughts tomorrow. Florida Derby first, and the first question I have. I looked, because of the post position, I tried to, find an alternative to Forte. I think he's just better than those.
Yeah, I would be surprised. He could break from Hollandale Beach Boulevard. I don't think it matters. I say that too. I've never been a fan. I tried to beat him every time he ran last year. I did not pick him in the Fountain of Youth. He's won me over. I mean, he's just you should have seen him. Did you see him the other day? Yeah. My goodness. I'm not a horse flesh guy. I'll be the first to admit that. You could just see him out there. He's different. Yeah. He's different.
Bouncing around.
And he knows it too.
Yeah.
I'm all for trying to beat false favorites, vulnerable favorites. Not a spot I'm looking to play against a horse like that tomorrow.
We were talking when we were in a break, and you had a couple other ideas that were kind of intriguing. Tomorrow.
I'll just sift through real quickly. I see. I hope I'm not giving away. You got Personal Best on top. She was awesome last time. She won by a neck. She could have named the score. She won in 3rd gear. So she's a horse I'm gonna key on. I'm going to try to get Octane loose in the Sir Shackleton. He'll be a pretty big price in there. There's not a lot of true sprint speed in there. If you want to bomb tomorrow, and maybe she can't win, Kahiko had a trip that somehow wasn't mentioned last time. Go back and watch her race. She could really, if she can't win the Sand Springs, and she's not that kind of horse. She could maybe blow things up underneath. Mrs. Astor's got a world of talent for Jonathan Thomas. I'm going to key on her. No strong opinion in the Oaks. It's a tricky race because we're going 2 turns now for the first time, and I think that could be a little bit of a separator. Certainly, Miracle was really good at Fairgrounds, first time for Pletcher. I mentioned to you off the air, and I know you talked to Shug McGahee. Fort Washington looked like a statue in the paddock schooling the other day. He looked phenomenal. I'm going to use him. That's a race that could fall apart with a lot of speed. So take note of that. I think just what I just did, Seth, in 5 races, I think you can kind of, there's races maybe you can lean on. There's races maybe you could have some fun with and try to get creative and try to blow things up. So it's a pretty cool card. And you already talked about the horizontals, the big pools, the rainbow. If it's not hit today, and I don't expect it to be hit today, that will have a monster pool tomorrow as we draw in on Sunday. But Florida Derby Day, Fountain of Youth, Pegasus, Breeders' Cup, those kind of days are days when the pools are astronomical and you can get a lot of value in there.
Yeah, it's a fun weekend and a great card tomorrow. Looking forward to it, and hopefully we'll make a little money for folks today to kind of get into the card tomorrow. And again, the mandatory pay and the rainbow coming up on Sunday, so it should just be a spectacular weekend. Brian, appreciate it as always, and I'm in the studio normally in the afternoon, and as I said, fun watching you and Ron, Samantha, and Claudia down here. We live vicariously this time of year, but we like watching you the rest of the year too. Doing a great job down here, and so appreciate you stopping by this morning. We'll be watching over the weekend and beyond.
Did you have to put a request in to get Ron out here, or did you get to go straight through him, or what?
We're gonna wait until he's out here at some point and then come meet him.
We love him to death down here.
All right, we'll take a little break. We'll wrap up the Handicappers report, but stay tuned. We will re-rack and change the guests and whatnot. We'll be back in a few minutes. Racing Across America, live from Gulfstream Park, coming up next.
This is a championship meet. Yeah. All the best jockeys in the world are here, and I'm excited to ride against them.
We back.
And you get to watch some really incredible, talented athletes out there.
Yeah.
To us, it's a place to be in the winter.
I love Gulfstream Park because of the racing.
The palm trees, the beach is right here. The horse racing is some of the best in the country.
A lot of good horses come out of here. And if you want to go to the next level, Gulfstream Park was the place to come.
I remember the first time I came to Gulfstream, it was like this big fairy tale place. All the history. And all these great horses, trainers, jockeys. It was everything that I ever dreamed of.